Hey, it's Honey. Guess what? I have a really great friend. You may have seen him in one of my prior interviews where he talked about IT, but tonight he's going to talk about his journey, his dawn journey to becoming a producer, a director, a screenplay writer, and all these amazing things. And if you're thinking about becoming one too, you're really going to watch this because he's going to talk about the pitfalls and the good parts, the bad parts, and the pros, the cons. You know what I'm talking about, of producing your own movie and writing your own scripts and dealing with actors. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh my gosh. So stay tuned. You're going to love it. Hey, it's Honey Gregory again, and welcome to my channel, Perpetual Learning and Going to the Movies. You know what I always say, if you're not learning, you're dying. And today we're going to be learning about a friend of mine who you've seen in one of my other podcasts, but I'm having him on for a very special episode to talk about his experience in the film movie making production industry and to tell you about his journey and all of the fun and weird things that have happened to him over the last couple of years as he has been going in that direction. So my very dear friend, Bryan Parkerson, welcome.
Well, hello.
I need some confetti.
Yeah, there's not enough fireworks right now. We definitely need more fireworks. I am definitely worthy of pyrotechnics.
That's right. So, oh my goodness. Oh, I'm so excited for us to do this because the last time you and I did a podcast, it was about the IT business and helping people who wanted to get into the IT business. And since then, you have left the IT business following your dreams. So, you know, on Perpetual Learning, I'm always talking to people about following their dream and how to get there. And you are in an exact good example, I guess, is I don't know how, of someone who has had a dream and held on to it, and so and now you're living it. So tell us your background. How did you get into the filmmaking business?
Yeah, that's well, you know, something that's cool about our relationship is you've actually been with me this entire journey. So I mean, like from the beginning, because in fact you were so let's rewind a little bit. So I was in the IT industry off and on from 2007 up through this year actually. Um, when I turned 36, I'll be 40 next year, which is very weird to say.
You're
But
old. You're an old man.
I feel that way.
No,
My
you're not.
beard has gotten much grayer since I
Oh,
met you.
oh,
Not because of you, but you know, since
oh,
I've met you.
I hope
Um,
not.
But I turned 36 and I realized that I was not happy doing what I was doing.
You weren't following
And
your dream, right? And you know, I think it eats at people when they're not really following their passion. You know it. You know it inside.
yeah, you know, I don't know. It's weird because IT is what I thought I wanted to go into.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna turn on my gain just a little bit on my mics to make sure we're getting it through clear. I thought I wanted to do IT, and for a long time I enjoyed it, but there just something in me changed. It was almost like, and this sounds so cheesy, right? I don't want to be like the artist, you know, saying, but like something in me just the artist in me was like, what are you doing? What are
Mhm.
you doing? You know, I'm over here waiting on you to get in gear, and you're over here chasing something that you're not want to do. So I don't know, just something in me wouldn't let go. And so here I was, 36 years old, career, mortgage. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
Mhm.
As funny as that is to say. So I began this deep journey of introspection, and it's funny how connected you and Joe Bob are to my story
Mhm.
because what's the best way to tell this? Okay, so back in the 90s, I've heard John talk about how like half the audience of his show was not old enough to be watching the show. I was one
John
of
is
them.
Joe Bob. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I call him John too, and everybody's like, "Who are you talking about?"
yeah. So I back in the 90s, I was watching Monster Vision on TNT, and I
Mhm.
to be honest, I had totally forgotten about the show because it went off in the early 2000s, and
Mhm.
I'd forgotten about it. Well, I was on YouTube one day, and on your front page you have suggestions, and for whatever reason, a Monster Vision clip was there, And I thought, holy smokes, I completely forgot about this show. Clicked on it. Oh my gosh. I mean, all the memories came flooding back in.
Nice.
And so I became obsessed with just anything I could find about Monster Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And in watching that, it inspired me to look on Cameo to see if John was on there. And he was. So I thought, heck yeah, man. So I paid like $2.50 to send him a message. And I don't remember what I asked him, but he replied after a couple of days. And so we had a little bit of a back and forth. And during that conversation, I found myself wanting to ask him about who he was as a person, not just about his career. And so on a Friday afternoon, I'm sitting at my desk and it dawned on me, that's my podcast. What if I interview actors, authors, and directors, but instead of focusing on their careers, what if I talk about who they are as well? So my concept is master storytellers telling their stories, because every actor, every director, every author, they have their own story to tell, and it's just as good, if not better, than any story they would tell, fictionally. So,
right.
So I decided to start the podcast. So I reached out to a horror author on Twitter. You guys know Brian Keene. Everybody knows Brian Keene. He's really big. And I said, hey man, can you PM me? I want to bounce an idea off of you. And so he said, he shot me a private message, and I pitched the idea to him, and he said he would listen to it. He thought it was great. So to fast forward a little bit, he had me get in touch with a guy named Matt Wildawson. Shout out to Matt. Matt is an author, artist. He's got a podcast called Grindcast. Amazing guy.
Need to get him on here then.
I'll talk to him. Yeah,
Okay.
he would love to be on here.
Right.
So Matt and I actually became really good friends in this process. But Matt showed me how to start a podcast. Okay, so now's the next challenge. How do I get guests?
Yep.
And I will tell anybody wanting to start a podcast, the key is to just not be afraid to ask. I used any outlet I could. This is before I understood the film industry and IMDb Pro and agents and managers and all that stuff. So I was hitting people up on Twitter. I was hitting people up on LinkedIn. I was hitting people up on Facebook. Wherever I could get a hold of a celebrity, I was reaching out to them. Folks, there are appropriate avenues to go, but don't be afraid to ask. And most of them are very nice, and they'll do your podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
it's advertisement for them. Why not? It gains fans. It's advertisement. It keeps them going, keeps them current.
Absolutely. And it's just really cool to get to talk to them just as people, because you get to, and a lot of these people have become my friends.
Yeah.
And so of course, one of the people that popped in my head is like the original mail girl, Honey Gregory.
Woohoo! You thought of me.
I did. Well, and I love this story because I knew you had become an attorney. And so I thought, let me Google her law firm, see if she has her own law firm. And lo and behold, bam, you had your own law firm. I said, okay, there's the phone number. And I thought, okay, well, all I've got to do is get past a receptionist, and I think I can get her to come on the show. And I was very, very nervous making that phone call. I mean,
very brave. I'm going to tell you, you were very brave. I'm very proud of you. It was awesome.
I can still distinctly remember the sick feeling in my stomach I had, just at how scared I was. I don't know why I was afraid, but I was nervous. So I made the phone call. A woman answered the phone. So I don't know how I sounded. That part kind of is a blur to me, but I remember, I introduced myself, I explained the show, and she goes, "Oh, this is Honey." And I was like, "Holy smokes, I was talking to you."
Yeah.
And so we agreed to come on the show. Funnily enough, it took a year to get you on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't remember what was going on, but what year was that?
That was 2020. So we had you on in early 2022.
So it was 20.
I had that. You remember I had that weird thing with the publicist that ended up happening. And,
we don't have to get into that, but that's what. Yeah. So it was 21. Well, I remember you reached out to me, and it was like maybe summer, and a lot was going on, and then, the Joe Bob show had reached out to me, and I said, "Well, why don't we wait until there's something's coming up?
Yes,
so why don't we wait?"
Yep.
But then I got COVID. I got COVID right after that too, because we were going to do it. And then that's why I was like, I'm way behind in my work. I've just had COVID. So let's wait till next year because something big's coming.
Yeah. And it's still, I mean, to this day, still, when I really stop and think about it, it's so strange to me that I was watching you on television in the 90s, and today you're one of my best friends.
I know, it's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah. And honestly, what kicked it off though was when you came to town to be in my film. We met at that restaurant, and it was as if we had known each other 20 years.
Yeah. And the weird thing is we have the same birthday, and it turns out we have ancestors. We're like cousins.
Yeah. We found that out recently. That was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
were like, I wonder if you relate to me. Well, it's not surprising because, I've said this before, but I think it goes back 7 or 8 generations, grandfathers that uh my seventh or eighth generation back grandfather was one of the 4 founding members who created the fort and founded. I'm gonna say it wrong. Sevierville.
Sevierville. Yeah.
Sevierville. So there were 4 families and wagons that came and put down roots, built a fort, fought off the natives or whatever they had to deal with, wolves and bears and whatever. And so, my family was there, and those families intermarried, and then, whatever, and more families came. And so I've got deep roots in Tennessee.
Yeah. I actually was out there today. I was out near the mountains.
Yep.
And yeah, so not only the podcast thing with John and you, but he a while, I guess it was like two years ago, he did this monologue called Keep on Rolling, I think it was. And it was a 5-minute monologue, and he just talked about, in the beginning, I called myself an aspiring filmmaker because I'd
Mhm.
never done a film. I didn't really know anything about the industry. I didn't know anybody in the industry.
Yep.
And I saw this monologue, and one of the things he says,
Yeah, I remember you said you wanted to do it, and I said, just go do it.
yeah, well, he says that he said there's no such thing as an aspiring filmmaker. He said that you are a filmmaker, you are a screenwriter. He said, I don't care if you're a mechanic and if you're writing a screenplay and your time off, write your screenplay, do your job, but you're a screenwriter, you're a filmmaker. And
Mhm.
that really hit deep for me. And after seeing that, from that moment on, I knew this is what I want to do. I want to be in film. So I changed my title to filmmaker. And the funny thing is, I went into it intending to be a director and cinematographer. Actually, ended up becoming a producer, which I love doing. I really enjoy it. But I still do cinematography, and I still direct. I actually was shooting some ads last week for a local clothing company here. But and like John says, like you say, like John Carpenter says, just get something and get out there and do it. So I wrote a script. It was a 9-page screenplay. It ended up turning into a 24-page screenplay. And I had my friends and I had a couple local actors in it. And I ran into difficulties with it. It was a lot of scheduling conflicts. And guys, it is harder to make a film than you think it really is.
Oh,
It-
yeah.
and so what ended up happening, to kind of open the kimono a little bit, just get some inside review. Um, all of my friends, they have families, they have jobs. They didn't have the schedule openings to be in this film like I needed them to be. The actors did. So the actors started getting upset that we kept running into all these scheduling conflicts. And then I had cast members threatening to leave, and it just became a giant mess. And so we just ended up shutting the production down. I will tell you though that I have not spoken to you about this yet. I actually am going to be redoing that film. I intend to finish it. So I have this footage, and I'm gonna use your footage in it. I'm gonna revamp it into that. I'm gonna revamp the script a little bit, but I actually I'll tell you off air, I got access to a really cool filming location today.
Good for
Um,
you. You can hear me
so
okay, right? You can hear me? Okay.
100%. So we're gonna do that movie, but that was a really good experience though, because it taught me a hard lesson that every filmmaker needs to learn.
Mhm.
It never goes correctly. It never goes right.
What's the old
Um,
saying? Stuff happens, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if everything's going right on your film set, something, I would be afraid. Like you really need to stop and take inventory, because something's. But the key to being a good filmmaker, I mean, outside of just having the skill, it's worth taking the time to learn. It's worth taking the time to learn the rules. But I think the greatest skill any filmmaker can have is the ability to adapt and overcome and remain calm under pressure. And it really is a test in leadership,
Mm.
because your entire cast, your entire crew are looking to you to see how to react to things.
Yeah.
So if something goes wrong and they see you melt down and fly off the handle or break out in tears, whatever, pick a meltdown scenario, they're going to lose faith in you as a leader and as a director, and that film's going to fall apart. And it's going to hurt your reputation. But if you can learn to adapt, if you can learn to stay calm and say, okay, yeah, we've run into an issue. Let's just stop and brainstorm and figure out a way around this. And worst case scenario, you may have to cancel shooting for that day.
Mm.
I mean, I have literally been going. And I'm not joking when I say this. I have literally been driving to a film set and gotten a phone call that we lost our two main actors
Oh, oh
due
my
to an
gosh.
unforeseen circumstance. Yes. So I stopped,
That's
pulled
not
over.
good.
It's not good, but that kind of stuff happens. I mean, this is literally like I am on the way to the set. We're going to start shooting. So I pulled over in a Burger King parking lot, pulled out my phone and started flipping through my phone book and calling anybody and everybody I could think of. And we ended up having to throw the script out and come up with something different. And we thought of a cool idea. And so we managed to save the day. But I mean, guys, worst case scenario, I would have had to just cancel filming for that day. But I mean, it happens, you know, so,
Yeah.
but what you don't do in that situation is you don't freak out. The other important thing to remember is that you're not a one-man show. Every director, every person on a podcast, every director, every successful film person out there, they're standing on the shoulders of someone else.
Mhm.
Any success I have had in this industry has been because I've had people who believed in me and took the time to help me.
Mm.
You know, yourself, the inspiration of John, my good friend Hilton, he was the second guest I had on my podcast. He's a director. And I just got the gumption to ask him to mentor me. And we ended up becoming really good friends. And we're now working on a film together. And Arnold Schwarzenegger gave a commencement speech one time. And he said to these students, these kids, there's no such thing as a self-made man. And I really agree with him on
Mm.
that. No one makes it on their own. There's always someone out there that believes in you and takes a chance on you. I
Mm.
mean, and honey, you came all the way down from your
Mhm.
state to be in my movie. I mean, you
Yeah.
believed in me, you cared about me, you wanted to help me out. And like, that's still one of my favorite memories, like
Aw, thank
that'll always
you.
be something I keep like, right here in my heart. I mean, that was just such a terrifying day,
Mhm.
but it was also such a really cool day. I mean, like gosh, you remember when I went clothes shopping?
Yeah, but it was cool for me too because I appreciate someone who was willing to take a chance on me because I hadn't been acting in what I don't know 30 years or something. And for it's flattering that someone remembered me and reached out to me and wanted me to be involved. And I was already going on vacation, so I was like, well, what the heck, we'll just go there too. And I appreciate the fact that you wanted your first thing that could have been a flop with me in it. So I was very flattered.
It
So
was awesome. Do you remember how
very
hot it
flattered.
was? That day was so hot.
I
Oh my
don't
gosh.
remember it being hot, to be honest. I love heat. I
Oh,
love the hot weather. So for me, it was probably okay. It's the humidity I don't like.
I think it was the hottest day of the year. And if you remember, we had Corey in like long sleeves and the pants because we wanted to hide his identity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That poor guy. It was so hot that day. And I
Hmm.
remember before, like 4 days before you came to town,
Hmm.
I had a real bad COVID scare.
Oh, yeah. I
And
remember you text me and go, I don't know if this is going to work or not.
yeah, so I mean, I took multiple COVID tests, and I was so terrified something was going to happen, and we weren't going to be
Hmm.
able to do it. And even the day of, I was so nervous. And I mean, I took the day off of work. I was running around town. But the funniest thing though was when I went to the clothing store to find a costume for you, and
Yeah.
I am sitting here in the women's clothing aisle, and I have never been more lost in my life. I am just looking, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I call you, and little honey trivia. She does not talk on the phone when she drives. So, or at least she used to not.
I try not to unless I have to, but when it was coming from you, I knew it might be important.
Thankfully, you answered, and I don't remember. I'm sure I said something like, "I am just so lost right now. Like, what can you help me find something?" And so she laughed at me, and if we were both laughing, then we like she's talking me through picking out some outfits, and then I still felt kind of lost. So I went up to this like random old lady that was a
Hmm.
couple feet from me, asked her for help. So I ended up finding some cool outfits.
You
So we
did. You
and
did
they
a good
fit.
job. You did a great job.
Thankfully, they fit.
Yeah.
We went with a couple sizes. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it turned out to be an amazing night. But when I finally put the footage together, all the sound was unusable.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I don't know how that happened because I don't know. I don't know what happened, but
Oh, I'll
so I
be
had to
darned.
foley everything. But it's
Well,
okay.
we can just shoot some more. We just do some more. No big
Yeah.
deal.
But I mean,
But it was good practice. So I think what a lot of people, they shoot a film. They think, oh, it's going to be some major masterpiece that's going to make them,
yeah,
win an award or something or whatever. When you first start out, you're learning. It's just a game. It's just test. You're just experiencing, and there's no better way than starting than just to start. And you're going to make mistakes. You're going to goof up. I remember when I first started acting. Oh my gosh, I was terrible. And I can't say that I'm great now, but I remember when I first started, I was like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm faking it till I make it. And I'd just go on these auditions, and then I decided,
yeah,
I better take some acting classes, and because it was my dream to do it. And so I just went and got an agent, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I made up my mind. I made a decision. I conceived the idea. I made a decision, and I just started taking steps towards it and having faith that something was going to happen and not worrying about how. I just did. As I got older, now I'm more afraid. It's like I got to know the how and figure it all out first before I start. And that's the very way to fail. That's the very way to lose your passion or your dream and not even ever do it. That's why with you, I just kept saying, stop talking, just do something. Go, shoo, go do something.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that you're right. I mean, that's you just got to do it.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid to fail. You can't be afraid to fall on your face.
Well, isn't
And
it Einstein or something that failed like what 100 and 300 times making the light bulb or whatever, I love that story because that's the reality of it. You do it wrong, but wasn't he said, he says, I didn't fail. I just learned the ways not to do it. And then you just do that. You will make a film 1,000 times and your last one will be the best because you've learned from all the other experiences.
yeah, well, there are a couple of new friends you're going to make along this journey, and they're called fear and discouragement. Um, and I mean, to be honest with you, yesterday, I actually was there are a couple things you've touched on that are important. One was the fake it till you make it. I want to come back to that because I got a funny story with that, but it's true. But I mean, even yesterday, I've been trying to get my production company moving and so I could do it full time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been harder than I ever imagined it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday I started questioning. I mean, I was very discouraged and I thought, maybe I'm not cut out to be a business owner. And,
Well, running a
and
business isn't easy, and that's just like starting a movie. You got to start at the bottom, and you're going to make mistakes along the way.
yeah, but here's what's crazy. I have learned as I've gotten older, I've learned as I've experienced life, you cannot let yourself stay in that thought pattern. You have to, okay, acknowledge, yes, I'm feeling this, but that's stinking thinking. You have to get rid of it and you have to move on.
Yep.
Well, today I got an email from a person I had a meeting with 2 weeks ago, and they want to sign on with my company.
Yay.
I haven't told you that yet. So I had a major victory. Yeah. So like it's you can't, and see, guys, this is what sets
And that was 2
apart.
years ago, and now they're deciding to do it. So the seeds you plant today may not come to fruit for quite some time down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had the initial contact with them like at the beginning of March, and then it was and we finally had a meeting last week, and then I got the email today. But I mean, really, what's going to set people apart, the people that succeed from the people that don't, is what they do in the moments of discouragement. Some people will they'll take that discouragement to heart and they'll say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm not cut out for this. And they'll quit.
Mm-hmm.
If you can hold on and have some grace on yourself and say, okay, yeah, this is tough, but don't let that hold you back. Just keep pressing forward. Do
Yeah.
the next practical thing. Like if they didn't call me back, I would just call the next person and call the next person and call the next person, go to the next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You eventually will succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Every billionaire out there, every successful business person out there,
Mm-hmm.
they have a million failures behind their name, but
Yep.
they just got back up and kept trying and kept trying.
Mm-hmm.
You will eventually succeed. That's the beauty of our country.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed that if you work hard and you chase your dream and you move forward, you will succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, today getting that email is an example of that. I mean, I never imagined.
Well, that's the problem. You got to start imagining.
Well, like I never imagined being a business owner. I never imagined going into the film industry, and that dream hit me. And I just said, okay, And I was in film school for 12 hours and they told me that I couldn't pay for it. So I had to drop out. That broke my heart. But
Yep. I
I
remember that. You were
determined
so sad.
I was, but in that moment I said, well, I guess I'm gonna have to figure this out on my own.
Yeah.
And, I listened to podcasts, I watched YouTube videos, I read books,
Mhm.
I read a book, but the thing is just get out there and do it and don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah.
And you will, and one other key piece of advice I give people, don't focus on one job. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make in this industry is they pick one thing and that's all they want to do. I
Mm.
want to be an actor. I want to be a screenwriter. I want to be a director. And that's it. They won't budge from that. Well, the problem with that is you see what's happening in Hollywood right now. There's a big drought and no one can find work.
Mm.
I want to know how to do everything. I want to know how to gaff. I want to know how to produce. I want to know how to direct. I want to know how to shoot cinematography. I want to know how to first AD. I want to how to, or should say DP. I want to know how to do everything. So if I'm not doing one job, I'm doing another. If I'm not doing that job, I'm doing another. Like I want to know how to do everything. Get out there and PA, get out there and produce, get out there and direct, get out there and write.
Mhm.
Because what ends up happening, there are a million screenwriters out there who have a script they wrote 10 years ago.
I'm one of
And
them.
they shop it around, they shop it around, they shop it around, they shop it around, and they never get to fulfill their dream.
Mhm.
My suggestion to each one of them is make it yourself.
Yeah.
Get on your local Facebook film group. Say, hey, I've got a movie I want to make. I need a crew and I need actors. You would be surprised how many people will work for just the footage and an IMDb credit.
Well,
Now, if
they
you
have
can,
dreams too, and they know that they don't have the credit on their resume until they build it. And
yeah,
so, they're looking for opportunities just like anybody else.
exactly. See, the fallacy is that you're in competition with people. The
Mm.
reality is that every one of us has the same dream and
Mm.
we can all work together to achieve it and get there. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, I can't tell you how many projects I've done where there was no money involved other than like buying food and stuff. These
Mhm.
people, they're happy to help you if
Mhm.
you'll give them the footage and give them IMDb credit because that
Yeah.
helps them. Now
Yeah.
they have real footage. Now they have an extra, obviously if you can pay people, pay people. But if you can't, they understand a lot of people, they're trying to get to the same place too. And
Right.
so you guys can work together. So, I mean, you just can't give up but it is hard work. I mean, it is harder than I thought it would be.
Mm.
Um, but it's also been an amazing and humbling experience. Realizing how important a team is
Yeah.
and realizing that I mean, like right now, you and I having this conversation,
Mhm.
I owe a lot of people a debt to be sitting here right now. Like
Aw.
to be in a place where I can be the subject of a podcast. I didn't get here by myself. I
Wait,
didn't.
and you started your own podcast.
I did.
And you had some amazing guests on your podcast. I mean, there's a lot of things that you have started in the last couple of years on your self-awareness journey
Mhm.
that you've done. Um, and they all work together. They're all experiences, it's all information, it's all connections and everything all working together to get you to where you are now. And it's still not where you're going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years if you just keep going down this path.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And you have the gift of gab. People love you because you can talk more than any man I've ever met in my life. You talk more than a girl. And you have that gift of gab where you can um, influence people and share with people and connect with people in a way that most guys don't have the ability to do. So you make friends really easily. It's a
I
good
have
thing.
I you saying that I have to tell a funny story.
Okay.
So last week when I talked to this customer,
Oh my gosh, hang on. We are running out of time. We got 10 minutes. So are we going to do another one and add it to this one?
yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
So when this is all done, we'll just keep going. All right.
Okay.
So start again. What happened?
Okay. So last so last week, you'll laugh at this. So based off what you were saying, so last week when I was talking, had this initial sales meeting with this customer, you had called me in the middle of it, so I couldn't take it, but I called you back. On I was started walking back to my car. I called you back, and I said to her, I said, yeah, the meeting went great. We talked for about an hour and a half. And as I said, I got there and I told you the story of like what, the weird thing that happened. And I started talking to him and I said, we just hit it off. And you're like, your response was, of course you did. You always do. You always do.
Yeah. Oh, and you always act so surprised. You're like, oh my gosh, I hit it off with this person and we talked and talked and I'm like, what's new about that?
Yeah. You were literally like, of course you did. You always do. Yeah,
Oh
it's just I'm blessed. I've always had an ability
gosh.
to connect with people and
Yep.
network, and
Yep.
it's a passion of mine.
Yep. People love talking to you because you can talk all day long. I've never met you and I get on the phone. I'm thinking I'm going to call Bryan for 10 minutes, and 3 hours later, I'm like, damn, Bryan, I got to get off the phone. I got
Even
stuff to do.
even after 2 years, our phone calls are still like that.
It's bizarre. Yeah.
How have we not run out of stuff to talk about? I don't know.
I don't know. Well, maybe it's because we only do it about once a month, but still, it's like catching up and da 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 and what have you. So it's always interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, Dawn Journey. You're
On Journey Productions. Yes. That actually
love your
brings
hat.
me. Oh yeah, thank you. I rebranded recently. And
Mm.
actually the clothing company that I did the ad for made this for me. I had a really terrible hat from Vistaprint.
It looks
So
like a snake on a pole. I don't know if I like that. It looks kind of demonic to me.
oh, it's not. It's not.
And
It's
that's
the
something
digital.
else I wanted to talk about too, because you and I both have run into some people who obviously are walking in the dark side. And I think with the film industry in general, you see that a lot. And then if you get into the horror genre, which you originally were in, because that's where really enjoy films, you're looking at a lot of people that are dark. They're dark.
Yeah,
Their
yeah.
soul is dark.
There are a lot of lost and hurting people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The soul is
Um,
dark. Mm-hmm.
and I have a mission that I have. It's and I think it's a noble one. The fun thing about Dawn Journey Productions, it goes back to something you said a few minutes ago. You talked when you first started acting, you faked it till you made it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I come from a very corporate background. And in corporate America, they tell you dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Exactly.
Okay. So I adopted that. And I feel bad telling this story because I feel I didn't want to deceive anyone. But let's just be honest. There's a certain level of what's the word to use? Not status, but like there's a certain level of success you've needed to obtain to get access to certain people.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew this was not lost on me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to create a production company to do all of this under as an umbrella, as a front, so to speak, because I'm not going to email these actors or these directors from a Gmail address. So I bought the domain for my, Dawn Journey Productions. I set it with my IT background. I was able to set up the domain and the email and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And so when I would reach out to people, I would always use like plural stuff like we're happy to
Mm-hmm.
have you on. We're excited to reach out to you, and I knew it was important to give off that I was established and I knew what I was doing, even though I didn't. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like you're walking a line there, but I mean, the reality is like there's a lot of gatekeeping in the industry. And if you're this new kid on the block that has nothing to their name, there's a lot of things you're just not going to be able to do. So you have to sort of, I don't know, play the game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was important to establish myself and have a company to do all of this under. What I didn't expect though was that I was going to actually really build a thing into something and really start chasing after it. But here we are. I mean, like we're
Mm-hmm.
the momentum is starting.
Mm-hmm.
I it once I will tell you that once I started doing this, the entrepreneurial bug bit me. I knew this is my future. I used to really despise Kevin O'Leary when I first started watching Shark Tank. And I actually really love that guy now. I would love to interview him. He actually was a film guy in his early years.
Oh yeah.
But he has a great story about when he his first job. He got a job at like some like ice cream shop in a mall or something like that. And he said at some point in the day, the owner told him to scrape up some gum off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to her, like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not my job. And she said, yes, it is. and she fired him. And he said at that moment, he knew he was never going to work for someone ever again. And
Oh,
I mean, today he's a multi-billionaire, you
yeah.
know, so once you get a taste of that entrepreneurial bug, I guess, I don't know what you call it, but like once you taste entrepreneurship,
It's hard
you're
to
like,
go back because you have freedom, but yet you have a lot of hard work and there's no guarantee you're going to get paid that month because I worked for myself for a long time.
yes,
But
yep,
when you go to work for somebody else, you're kind of a prisoner to that job. You're a
mhm,
slave to the job, and you do have to do whatever they want. And I know when I worked at a law firm years ago, you work your tail end off to do the best that you can and figure out how to help someone. And no matter what you did for them, it was never good enough. They were calling your boss.
yeah,
Well, she didn't do this, and then your boss is coming in, and you're like, I was lucky though. I had a boss that had been practicing for a very long time and dealt with people, and he could see through the BS. But I learned that no matter what you do, um, people just want to complain and be difficult. Try to get out of paying their bill, or just they're angry and upset with their life, and they're lashing out and finding anybody that they can harm along their way. Um, and when you work for yourself, the only person to call is me.
mhm,
And you don't like what I did, you're not going to call me and complain because it's not going to do you any good.
yeah.
Because I don't give a crap. No, I mean, I do,
Well,
but I don't. I mean, because like a boss would come in and fire me, where me, I'm
mhm,
not going to fire me. So you may complain and I'm saying, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Unfortunately, this was blah, blah, blah. But there's no other recourse. So what happens is they rarely ever complain because they're not able to punish you,
right.
and that is their job. That they're angry with themselves, their lives, their spouse, whatever the product, and they want to hurt someone because they feel that that's what they need to do to get revenge. And when you work for yourself, you can't fire yourself. um so some of that, I mean, of course you want to give the best services that you can give to anybody, but um it does change things because the example you gave was is I don't want to crawl on the floor on the dirty nasty floor and scrape up gum.
Mhm.
And but I remember when I worked at McDonald's, they had us scraping gum from underneath the tables. It was disgusting because creepy people would come in and didn't have any manners and put their gum under the table. And they didn't want it getting stuck on people's clothes and then get sued for running somebody's suit or something. So yeah, we'd have to go out there once a day and scrape gum off. Um, you know, because if you didn't, you get fired.
Yeah. And, a hard reality I've had to face as I've gotten older is no matter how much you may get along with people at a company, no matter
We have one
how,
minute.
yeah, no matter how family oriented a company may seem,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, you're expendable.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to do what's right for the company.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily a personal thing, but and how many companies have you worked for where you're just like, I don't like the way this is. I don't like these policies. I just realized like, man, I've got my dreams and I've got the way I think things should be done. So I'm going to do it myself,
Yeah.
and just the entrepreneurial spirit, it's every, a hard lesson I learned. Uh, you hear a lot of companies call people family, and while their attitude may be just that, while that may be true, at the end of the day, leadership is always going to do what's right for the company, and that may be at the expense of you. So, a
Mm-hmm.
hard reality I've had to learn over the years, and it's a hard one I think everybody needs to learn. When you work for someone else, you are always expendable.
Mm-hmm.
They're always going to do what's right for the company first, and that looks different for everybody. For some people that may mean personal sacrifice, for others that may mean cuts, and you may be one of the cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher up the chain you go, the more money you make, the sooner you end up on the chopping block because
Mm-hmm.
they start at the top and work their way down. So at the end of the day, some people just get to the point where you're like, I don't like the way companies run. I don't like the bizarre policies you see come from the top that are completely devoid of any understanding of how they affect the bottom. You see, so you get to a point where you're just like, you know what? I think I can do this better. And you just trek off and do it on your own. But I mean, like you said, it's hard. Yes, there's that freedom, but you go to bed at night wondering how things are going, wondering how that, did you say something dumb in the meeting? Is this customer going to call back? Are you going to lose this customer? You just have these unending, there's a lot of people. I think some people have the illusion that it's just this cakewalk at the top, and it's really not.
Mm.
It's actually lonely. It's hard to find people that share your vision and your passion for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's stressful. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I wouldn't trade it for anything. And I know at the end of this road, I'm going to look back and be grateful for the ups and downs. I'm going to be grateful for the challenges and the failures, because they all lead, will have led to who I am at that moment, and it will be a better person. And
Mm-hmm.
I have also learned as I've gotten older that life is about perspective.
Yeah.
No matter what you're facing, and there are goods and bads, this is part of life. Um, the perspective you take it with is what's most important.
Mm-hmm.
Even in a negative situation, you can choose to adopt a positive perspective on it and choose to.
Absolutely. And that
So,
changes everything. I mean,
yes,
because I've been through a lot of adversity and you've heard some of my stories.
yes, I have.
And so,
Yep.
you can choose to hate people or be angry or get depressed or have anxiety or a number of things, um, or you can choose not to. And a lot of times I meet people who are going through divorce and they're like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'm like, oh my God, it's the beginning of your world. And you can look at it either way. It's the end or the beginning. And it's, if you just say, you know what, that's over, it's done, it is what it is, and I'm going to move on. Um, Otherwise, I meet people and even years later, they're still depressed over their divorce. I'm like,
Mhm.
my God, get over it, move on. You meet crazy people along the way who want to destroy you and your life and ruin your reputation because they're angry, sad, pathetic, probably mentally disturbed in some way people. Well, you can be sad about the fact that you ran into some psychotic person who's trying to destroy you, or you can go, well, you know what? I learned a lot. Those are the signs and symbols and information I need so that I don't go through this crazy shit again. Because I recently had someone who I thought was a friend um, who was trying to manipulate me on multiple occasions and caused a big scene. And then all of a sudden it clicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's not well.
Yeah.
There's something
And you
not
just
right there.
know, yeah, you just know not to do that same thing. Yeah,
I
I
just
get
kept
it.
having this feeling like that person's not well. And there's something odd about them. And then all of a sudden, I had like this godly vision in my head. This person that I'd known who'd been diagnosed with some serious things. I was like, oh, that's a message from above, letting me know that that person is someone I need to cut free and move on.
Yeah. And people will come and go in your life.
Yep.
Some people are meant for a season, some people weren't meant to be in your life, and some people
Right.
will be there for a lifetime. I mean, like
And
you're
you and
gonna
I've
be.
had this conversation like 1,000 times with
Mhm.
people from my life and people in your life. Um, you know,
Yeah.
they've got issues and it's sad when you have to let them go, but it's to your benefit.
Yeah. And it may
And
be
it
to
doesn't,
theirs as well, you
well,
know?
it could be, and it doesn't matter if it's on the job or if it's your own business or if it's friends and family. It all comes back around to the same thing, and like I always say in my podcast, I give people three strikes now. If you're trying to control, manipulate me and cause problem and whatever, one time I'm going to tell you I don't like it. And then the second time I'm like, okay, that's enough. And if they do it the third time, I'm done. It's like, there it comes again. I'm out of here. You
Yeah.
just, you have to set boundaries and stick with them or you're going to wind up with
Yep.
crazy
And,
people
and
around you.
boundaries are extremely important to me, especially in the film industry, like going to the topic I know you wanted to go to with, faith in the industry. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, I have been, it's interesting because when I first got into this, I love the magic of movies. I love movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
And there's the word magic.
yeah, I am fortunate that being in the industry didn't destroy film for me. I know some filmmakers that they can't really watch movies anymore because all they can do is
Nitpick
nitpick and
every little
see,
thing. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and see problems. And it actually has given me a deeper appreciation. Like an example, I saw the trailer for the new Joker film today,
Oh,
and I do not like musicals. I think it was a mistake to go that route. And if
no, not a musical.
I have, yeah, I have a bias against them. to me, if I'm being completely objective, it's actually sort of a genius play because you could, the subtext of the film could be that you're in his brain watching his fantasy or something.
Mhm.
But I will
They just
tell
want
you
to
that
spin that off into a Broadway thing that'll drag on for 20 years. That's all that is.
it would be interesting. I mean, at the Joker, at the end of the day, the Joker's crazy, so it kind of makes sense going to a musical. But I just don't like musicals, so they've sort of segregated an audience just with that. But
Yeah,
I,
me
I
too.
will tell you though that some of the cinematography I saw in that trailer was unbelievable. I mean,
Mm,
there's this one scene where it's it just it's the entire room is dark and you just see his silhouette in the spotlight. There's a little bit of an edge lighting on him, and it was a beautiful shot. And there's some
mhm,
fog in the air, beautiful shot. So I would not have appreciated anything in that trailer if I didn't have the film experience that I do have.
yeah,
When you start learning about cinematography, you're learning about directing. When you like, I mean, honestly, just when you try to make just a little tiny no budget film, and
mhm,
you see how difficult it is to do, and how
yeah.
much planning and coordination and pain and suffering you have to go through to make it happen,
And dealing with all
then
the
you
crazy
watch
people.
and then you watch a movie like Tora Tora Tora,
Mhm,
that was done in the 60s. You see planes flying around, explosions and aircraft carriers,
mhm.
and hundreds, if not thousands, of extras on the set. Oh my gosh. Like
Yeah.
when I watched that film again after trying to make my own film, my jaw was on the table because
Mm,
I was so beyond floored at the fact that they were able to put, now granted they had a studio behind them and
mhm,
they had, a multi-million dollar budget even in the 60s, but wow, to pull something like that off is incredible.
mhm,
But I'll tell you too, when you get to, I have had the privilege early on to see my work on a screen,
mm,
in a packed house.
mhm,
I co-directed a film with some people for the Knoxville Film Festival a couple
mhm.
of years ago,
I remember that. It was like
and
7 days of craziness or something.
yes, it was tough. It was tough, but to see my name on
Mhm,
a regal film screen
mhm,
in an auditorium filled with people was,
mhm.
there aren't words.
Yeah.
It's and you are seeing your work on this screen. It's incredible.
Yeah, I saw
And
myself in the movie Hexed. Had like a 30-second thing. I was like, "Oh, I'm up on the big screen. It's crazy."
yeah, I
Yeah, it's a
mean,
nice feeling.
and I would say like with most pains, like when on the other side of it, when you see the end result, you forget about the pain because
Mm.
now you're seeing this amazing thing,
Like
excuse me, that you
birthing
had
a
the privilege to
child,
create.
like birthing a child, right? You forget.
That's exactly what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it, but that's exactly what I was thinking. That's because to me, there's no better analogy. When a woman's going through childbirth, it's just
Yeah.
absolute agony. But the minute the child is in the world, that pain doesn't even
Yep.
exist any
It's,
longer.
it's
Like
the
they forget
blessing.
about it
Yep.
because you're holding your child. So, but it also, it's a dangerous industry. And part of my reason for being in it, I believe, I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian.
Mhm,
I believe that God wants me to be a change in this industry.
mhm,
There is a lot of predatory behavior. There's a lot of
mhm,
exploitation.
mhm.
All you've got to do is just start talking to indie filmmakers, and there are millions of stories of distributors taking advantage of them, stealing films.
Mhm.
Guys, entire groups of people, men and women, putting hours and hours and hours of blood, sweat, and tears into films, and they get a deal from a distributor, and they maybe get $5,000, and the distributor's making hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
They stole their film. I mean, it's just, there's so many young women out there who have to choose between dignity and a film
Mhm.
career.
Mhm.
And that's not right. And
No.
that's not okay. And I want to put a stop to that crap
Well, and it's
because,
happening to the men too now because a lot of that's coming out, especially in the music industry where
yeah,
there's all of this. You have to have deviant sex with people to rise up the ranks and to reach your dreams. And that's
yeah,
just disgusting. That's
it
just
is.
disgusting.
And there are people who would tell me that the mission I'm on is foolish and that it'll never work
It's hard. It's
because
a
this
hard
is,
one. It's a hard one.
I recognize that. And there are people who would tell me that, like, they're looking at it from the world's perspective. They would say, Bryan, you'll never succeed. You'll never do this because an industry that hates God.
Mhm.
I will tell you though,
Well,
and
they hate the God you worship. They don't hate God as long as it's the one they worship.
yeah, I
It's the
guess it
one
depends
you
on who
worship.
you
Yeah.
define as God.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
But my answer will always be the same. Israel, on numerous occasions, faced armies that just were hundreds of times their size, and they decimated them.
Mm.
And it was because they had God on their side. And I firmly believe with conviction that if I am on a mission that God has given me and I'm doing what he's asking me to do and I'm doing something to seek to bring him glory, it doesn't matter what the world thinks. It doesn't matter what men think. It doesn't matter what the industry thinks. God is going to bring me that success. That doesn't mean I'm not going to face adversity on the way. God will use that adversity to grow me as a person
Mm.
and as a man of faith, but I know for a fact that I will succeed. So my ultimate vision is that I want to build a studio. I want to create an environment where young men and women, or anybody that wants to make a film, can come in, sit down with us. If they have a script in hand, as long as the script fits within the parameters and values of my company, we're going to help you make that film from A to Z. And I mean from A to Z. I'm gonna give them a first AD that's a veteran director of the industry that's going to mentor them, be on set with them, teach them the ropes of directing, how to work with actors, how to bring the vision to life. I'm going to have a professional editing bay where they can professionally edit their film. They're going to learn to do that. And then my goal is I want to have partnerships with reputable distributors, and we'll get distribution for their film. And that's where I'm hopefully going to make the money for the studio.
And here,
But
that's why I want you to go to that Rise Up con that's going to be in Sevierville in May, I think, or end of April, whenever it is, end of May, I think, because I think those people are more in line with your dream. And I think part of the reason that you've had so much struggle with reaching your dream is that you haven't been aligned with the people that are in the same vibrational field with the same goals and same mindset. You being a devout Christian, and dealing with people who are devout to the other guy, it's like it's adversarial.
yeah,
It's adversarial, and you're not connecting. You're just
yeah,
not connecting. And you know, Hollywood has been it's been demonic for a very long time. I'm just going to say the word. And it's not a friendly place to Christians, you know.
yeah. And
It,
it's sad. I mean, like,
yeah.
and if you're not careful, not only can you be taken advantage of, it can really destroy uh, the beauty and joy of film. I mean, at the end of the day, it's art, and art is a beautiful gift of expression that God has given us that everyone is able to express uniquely in some way.
Mhm.
And film is just such an amazing thing because you can, as I've gotten older, I've really grown to appreciate older films. And I've been spending a lot of time recently just watching The Twilight Zone or the original Star Trek, or just even older movies. Like I love Vincent Price.
Mm.
And there's something, in a way, I'm able to escape and get to live in another time through these films. I'm
Well, I
able
like the
to,
old films because they're wholesome still. Like I can
right.
watch it with like when Hannah was little, I could watch them without having to run over and cover her eyes and her ears, you know. And as a Christian, you know, you're supposed to guard your eyes and ears, and that's always
Yeah.
been my concern with any movie from any genre is, you know, and I do like some scary movies, suspense and murder mystery kind of stuff. But today they've just gotten too demonic. It's all this, you know, blood and guts and torture and things that the eyes should not be seeing.
Mhm.
Um, People should not be watching that. And I've recently said this, you know, people go to war and they see their friends bad things happening to them, their buddies and their friends, and they have post traumatic stress.
Mhm.
You watch these films over and over and over again with people getting killed and blown up and stabbed and the blood sucked out of them and blood squirting everywhere and guts everywhere. You are watching and programming your brain over and over and over again. And I'll tell you that a lot of people I meet that are in who are obsessed, like that's about all they ever watch is horror films. Um, and I told you this before, they're 95% of them have some severe mental health problems. Like you can see it. You can hear it in their voice, their tone, their attitude, their lifestyle. And it's very sad. But if you're going to go around looking at that stuff all day long, you're going to have your brain is not supposed to be watching that all day. It just isn't. You're supposed to guard your
Yeah.
mind and your eyes and your ears. And you're not supposed to be watching people mutilated by vampires and zombies and whatever else and demonic rituals and witchcraft. That is negative. And if you're all you're going to do is watch stuff that's negative, you're going to have negative results in your mind, in your lifestyle.
Yeah.
And nearly every person I know that does independent films who focuses primarily on horror all have come to me from time to time saying they're depressed.
I think there's a little bit of a caveat there though too. I think about like Romans 14 and I forget the chapter in First Corinthians, but Paul would talk about Christian liberty and that he would say like all things are lawful, but not all things are profitable. And he in First Corinthians, the example he gave was eating food sacrificed to idols. And there was, amongst the Jewish population at the time, there was this big uproar about, there were Christians who would eat food sacrificed to idols. Like, oh no, you can't do that. That's wrong. And Paul's saying, look, if your conviction is that it's these gods aren't real and it's just food, eat it. But if it causes your brother to stumble, then you are in sin and you shouldn't do it. And he says the same thing in Romans 14. So I think like when you look at, I would like it to say like, a medical professional, when you do law enforcement, when you're a soldier or when you're a medical professional, I think these are very specific callings on people's lives and God wires those people to do those things. And Paul talked about too, that he would go into communities and he would be to those people what he needed to be. He would be amongst them. And I think in some ways sort of adapt to their culture, but not to a degree of sinfulness. And see, that's my goal. Like I have had people kind of question me, well, just one person, but like I've been questioned, like, about doing horror films. And like, I love horror movies. I have my limits on what I'll watch, but I love horror films. And I want to reach that community. We have a thriving Christian film industry, but it's only helping one group of people and it's Christians. We need to be making content that is going to reach the lost. And so that's what I want to do. I want to show that like you had talked about the older films that you were okay letting Hannah watch them because that you knew that they were safe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point. Universal, MGM, all of these major studios for decades made films that had no sex, no cussing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are classics. They're shown in film schools. They're examples of how to make a good film. And it had none of that content, no nudity, no sex, none of that stuff.
Yep.
I firmly believe there is no purpose for any of that in a film.
Yep.
And I want to prove in my career that you can make amazing content, amazing films without any of this nonsense in it.
Yep. Yep.
But I want to reach the lost because that heart, the beautiful thing about the horror community, despite its brokenness, it is an extremely inclusive group of people.
Yeah, they're wonderful people. Wonderful people.
They are accepting. They are loving. A lot of these people, it's the only place they feel they fit in. And I love that about them.
The land of the misfits, someone.
Yeah,
someone.
Sure.
It's the land of the misfits. And I can't remember who told me that, but they all feel like a bunch of misfits because they're sad and depressed and upset about the way their life is or what they look like or things like that, which again, nearly everybody I meet has, self-image and depression. And it makes me sad because I just want to just embrace them all and say, you're beautiful. Don't do that. But
yeah. And that's what I want to do.
They believe that somehow God left them out. They're not normal. They're not the same. They don't look alike or whatever it is. And which breaks my heart because none of us look alike. We're not robots. We're not supposed to look alike. Everybody's supposed to have their own skills and their own look and their own attitude and everything else. And it makes me sad that they feel like the only way that they can be part of a community is to watch this vulgar, violent, evil stuff and then put all the monsters on their bodies as tattoos. It just breaks my heart.
Yeah. I want to reach these people and show them that they are all beautifully and wonderfully made and that every one of them has value. Every one of them is special and the world is a better place because they're here. And so many people need to hear that message. And my heart breaks for the people because in my 20s, I don't talk about this a lot. In my 20s, I was an extremely broken man. I used to self-harm. I used to put cigarettes out of my arm.
Mm,
I have scars all along my left arm where I was hurting so bad emotionally that I put cigarettes out of my arm.
yep.
You know,
Because you
I
didn't
had
feel worthy. You didn't feel like
I had struggles.
yeah, you didn't feel worthy. You were depressed. And this is
Yeah,
what I'm talking about. So a lot of people will turn to negative things, any kind of negative thing. And so
but I
very
have a
sad.
heart. I have a heart for those people, and I love
Yeah.
them, and I want to reach them, and I want to hug them, and I want to
Yeah.
tell them it's going to be okay, and I want them to know that there's a God who loves them and that they're not too broken for him.
Yeah. But a lot of them are
And
not ready to receive it. They're
no,
not ready to
that's
receive
true.
it.
But I'll
So,
tell you what, they're willing to watch a good movie, even and
hmm
even if it has that message, if it's what they enjoy watching.
hmm
That's what I want to do. I want to show that you can create incredible stuff without exploiting people,
hmm
and and I want to reach that audience. You know, I don't have anything against the Christian film industry. And lately they've actually been doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you're only helping one community, and it's Christians. And I get it, and it has its place, it has its purpose. I want to reach the lost for Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm going to do. And am I worried about succeeding? No, because I know and have faith that if God has called me to do this, and I believe he has, I know I will succeed,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't matter who's running the world. I'm serving the king of the universe, and whatever his purpose for me is, he's going to make sure it happens. So, um, I also feel blessed that he is having me do something so cool. You know, I mean, like I will tell you that as you meet more and more people and get deeper in the industry, it's less of a big deal to meet famous people, but it is never lost on me the privileged position I have. Like when you and I go to FrankenCon, you know, I get to be there as an industry person, so that sort of gives me access that a lot of other people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
That's not lost on me that I get to do that, and it feels really cool to get to do that. It's not lost on me that I am friends with people from my favorite movie, that I've gotten to interview some of my heroes, and it's been an amazing and awesome thing. And one of the things I'm very deliberate about is if I run across people who are interested in film or they're interested in pursuing this, I want to pay it forward.
Mm-hmm.
If there's somebody that wants to get in film, I'll do whatever I can to help you. You know,
Yeah.
because it's tough. It takes a lot of work. There's a lot to learn. And I needed people to stand by me. And I found you, I found Hilton, I found Matt. You know, I have a lot of people. I found Bill. Like I have a lot of people today who love me and support me and who have opened doors for me and believed in me. And I'm sitting here right now not because of God and because of these people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I will always be grateful for that. And I never want to forget where I come from, and I never want to forget that. I don't care how far I make it in the industry. I always want to be humble, and I always want to be willing to help the next person, because
Yeah.
there is a lot of gatekeeping. There is.
Yeah.
And you have to, it's critical that you don't give up. It,
Mm-hmm.
like when you learn guitar or you learn photography, those are both good examples. When you learn guitar, which I have, the F chord is the most frustrating note I ever tried to learn to play. I literally split my finger open trying to learn to play that chord.
Ah.
And when I finally got it, it was amazing. Like there comes a point in learning guitar where a lot of people give up because you're just like, this is not worth it. And you sit it down, you never pick it up again. But that's the point where you're going to succeed. If you will keep going and keep trying,
Mm-hmm.
not long after that, it's going to click and you're going to get it. Same with photography. When I first started learning photography, I read a basic book on videography, and it went over camera basics, the exposure triangle, which is extremely important to understand, by the way. Um, I was like, okay, I kind of get it. I learned how to do these things on my camera, and I went out and started taking pictures. And it was frustrating. I
Mm-hmm.
had fun taking the pictures, but then when I came home and I saw these crappy photographs that were out of focus, or the color was wrong, it was discouraging, but I kept doing it. And then
Yeah.
it eventually clicked. And now that I know it, I know a better way to teach people.
Yep.
I can make it pretty easy for people. I can tell you, do this, this, and this, bam, you're ready to go.
Yep.
So the point is, there comes a point in your journey where you're going to be at like critical mass. You're going to be like, you know what? This is not worth it. I don't want to do this anymore. That is when you need to dig down deep, plant your feet and keep going, because that's the success is right. I mean, you're literally right there at the finish
Yes.
line.
When you hear that negative talk in your head going, I can't do this, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm ugly, whatever it is, that's when you know that you're up for promotion and it's a test and you need
That's
to,
when you're going to make it.
that's when you need to just dig in and keep going, because your self-talk can be more damaging to you than what other people say to you or about you,
Oh,
because
absolutely.
you know
Yeah.
they can go, people have been talking ugly about me my whole life, that blonde girl, that bimbo, that idiot, that dumb girl, you know, the girl with the boobs, whatever. I've listened to it for
Hmm.
so long that it's just like, oh, here we go again, you know, someone's insecure and sick and they need some help, and I just blow it off now. But you know, for someone who's young and they're hearing all this stuff, they start their own little recording in their head. Like they start believing it. You know, oh, well, my mom said, my dad said, my boss said, whoever I know said that I'm not pretty or worthy or smart enough to do this. Well, that's when you take on that F you attitude and you prove them wrong
Yeah.
and you just do it. Cause I mean, I'm
You
proof.
overcame it.
I'm
Yeah.
proof. I was dyslexic
Yep.
and blonde and attractive and, you know, airy fairy kind of happy girl. And people just thought I was a stupid idiot. And I got sick and tired of it, you know. And so I said, well, okay, the hell with all of you. You know, I'll just go to school and prove you that I'm smart. Like I shouldn't have to prove it, you know, but I did. So I went and proved it. Okay. You know, I got 4 college degrees.
Yeah.
I graduated with honors. I became a lawyer. And still, even after that, people are still going, you're just a dumb ball on. I'm like, have you seen my freaking resume? You know, do I have to like really? Um, but if you just listen to everybody else, you'll never accomplish anything. And then,
Yeah.
then if you take what they say and you start telling yourself the same thing, and we all do it. I mean, there are days where I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is just too hard. I can't do it. And I get, you know, I'll go through that whole, I'm mad, I can't do it. And then I get mad that I'm an idiot for saying I can't do it. And then I'm like repeating positive affirmations to prove to myself I can do it. So,
Yeah.
you know, you
You're,
just
you're
can't
t-
give up. You can't
right.
give up, and you
Exactly.
can't listen to everybody else, and you can't listen to your own stupid nonsense that you're
And,
saying in
and,
your head.
and you touched on a little caveat I want to mention as well, something that's important, not only not giving up, but going back to what makes a good filmmaker. Um, in reality, you are still a human being and you still
Mm-hmm.
feel emotion. So I have a rule that I follow, and I think it's a good rule, and I think it'll serve people well. When you inevitably get overwhelmed in a production, which you will, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get mad, you'll get frustrated, you may even want to cry. I'm a sensitive man. I shed tears occasionally.
I cry. I don't like crying, but I cry.
I have 2 to 4 people that I will open up to. So these are friends or they're industry pros that I'm friends with. I make it a rule that only these 4 people ever see a negative emotion in me. I'll call them to vent. I'll call them to get advice. My crew, my cast, yeah, they never see those emotions in me.
Mm-hmm.
It's only these people, and
Mm-hmm.
I think and because at the end of the day, I'm still human. I still get. I mean, gosh, that first film, there were times I got frustrated, and
Mm-hmm.
I needed to vent. I think I probably called you a couple times.
Oh
Like
yeah, it's okay. What friends
I
are for.
yeah, and I think it's appropriate to have that outlet, but it's important
Yeah.
that you don't let your cast and your crew see you express those negative emotions, because they're going to lose faith in you, because they're looking to you when things are going wrong. How should we react? And if they see
As
you
a
over there in the
leader.
corner,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're going to fail. So that's an important caveat as well. You don't need to be Superman. You don't need to not have any emotions. You just need to have a select group of people that you let see those emotions, that you can express them to.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you need to, and it's sometimes you just got to walk away. Just call lunch. You
Mm-hmm.
know, call a wrap for the day and walk away. Like,
Take a
but
break. Step
yeah,
away from it.
it's critically important that you maintain your composure and that you know how to adapt and overcome. And honestly, you do need to reach a point where those moments of frustration and negative emotion are few and far between. You need to really have a thick skin. I mean, I've had to toughen
Mm.
up a little bit in this industry.
Yep.
So and for all the negatives, for all the things you have to look out for, I can tell you that, man, this has been one of the coolest experiences of my life. It's so cool that I can tell people I do this. It's the friends I have made. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I have a lifelong friend to you. My friend Jeannie, like and my friend Matt, Bill Hill, like all these people, they I've made so many new friends and I've made so many connections, and it's just been one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And
Yeah.
I look forward to what the future holds. And is it discouraging? Yes. Is it hard? Yes. Are there times where I'm just like, oh, like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I'm also so excited and so
Mm-hmm.
thrilled, and I feel so privileged to be a part of it. And I always, I never want to lose that. I never want to lose that childlike wonder of film.
Mm-hmm. And I think people
The
need to remember they don't need to prove anything to anybody else. Just prove it to yourself that you can do it, and
Yeah,
just go for it. Like I told you 1,000 times when you were frustrated, I'm like, cut loose the bad people and refocus, regroup, start again. It's okay. And let go of the negative people, let the negative energy, um, and keep going. Just don't stop.
mhm,
But sometimes you got to prune the fruit tree so that
yep.
it grows next year better.
Be extremely selective about who you
Yeah.
uh, do business with and about who you let in your camp. I'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you that too.
Yeah. And,
I
and we all want to trust everybody and let everybody in and have a lot of friends. But there are some people who are there to help you and grow with you. And there are some people there that are vampires there to suck you dry in any and every way. And then they're not happy because no matter how much they take from you, it's not enough. They want more, and how dare you not give them more?
Yeah,
And those people you have to cut loose. You got to prune that tree. It's just what it is. And you feel bad about it when you're a good person and a kind person, but you have to toughen up, like you said, and then just do it
yeah,
because there are people
yeah.
that are just negative Nancy's no matter what you do.
You want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah. Well,
it's
and when
it.
you're that kind of person like you are, bad people see that and they see that opportunity to weasel into your life, and you have to be really careful. So, to be successful in anything, you've got to know when to make the cut. Like a good
Yeah,
movie. You got to know which parts to cut out and how to stick all the good parts together. Sometimes you got to just let people go.
that's a great analogy.
Yeah.
That's a great analogy. And
We
as
got,
usual, you always look better than me on camera.
oh,
But man,
stop.
we always have so much fun though.
I told you, I was like, I think I've got the soft blur on there so I look younger, cover up my wrinkles. Well, do you want people to know about your Facebook and Instagram and websites and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. My website is dawnjourneyproductions.com, DAWN journeyproductions.com. I know it's a long domain. Facebook, just Bryan Parkerson, Bryan with the Y. And I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok. Um, got I, there's just tons of stuff going on. It's hard to say like I'm doing one thing. I mean, I'm constantly getting involved in something. So like I'm wanting to do a documentary on the Mandela effect. I'm wanting to do more ads. I'm going to be revamping that film. So there's a film I've been working on since August that's going to we've got some really big stuff planned for it. So, a lot of good stuff going on, but yeah, shoot me a follow on Facebook, send me a friend request. If you have questions about film, shoot me a PM. Just do me a favor. Like, scammers have a certain way they approach you. So don't just be like, hey, how's it going? Just send me an actual message like, hey, I've got a question about film, and give me the question. And, I am approachable. I'm not some, unobtainable dude in an ivory tower. I'm a regular guy. So,
Yeah.
just I'm here to help. If
Yeah.
anybody needs help, please reach out to me, because I want to pay it forward, because I've had so many people help me and pour into my life.
Mhm.
So I want to do the same.
And I want to tell you thank you for always being such a good friend and helping me with IT stuff and helping me grow my social media. And you've been an amazing friend to me. And you're the one that convinced me to get back out there and get in the public eye and start doing things again. And I get discouraged too, like you. And so I feel blessed to have you there for me to cry on your shoulder occasionally and to get some advice from you. So, you know you're too hard on yourself sometimes, and I know that's what you tell me too. So it's a good us October babies supporting each other and propping each other up, because life can be mean and hard at times. And I think your message and mine is to always just go for it and not listen to everybody else. And you're going to have hurdles to get over, and you just have to keep going. You just can't listen to all the crazy people or let every little bump in the road veer you off course. you know,
Yeah.
like you have your dawn journey, your journey, uh, to where you're going. And Dawn of the Dead, or Dawn of the Dead, your favorite
Dawn of the
movie.
Dead. Yep.
You put
Yes,
them
it is.
together. So your favorite movie and your path. I like the way you've put your business together and your logo. And I love you. You're an awesome, amazing person, and I'm going to be in your neck of the woods, and I'm going to be seeing you soon at the FrankenCon. So
Yep.
if
It's gonna be
anybody's
awesome.
hearing this, I'm going to try to get this one out before the FrankenCon, and oh my gosh, that's coming up in a couple weeks. Can't believe it.
Yes, that's true. It's gonna sneak up on us.
Yep. All right. I'll see
Um,
you soon.
okay. Thank you for those kind words, by the way. That really means a lot.
Well, I love you. I tell you that all the time. You're a very good friend. You're a good person, and it makes me sad that you ever thought that you weren't and you weren't worthy. Um, but I've been there.
Yeah. Many
When
years ago, though,
yep.
that is not where I'm at anymore. That was many
No,
years
well,
ago.
I understand that, but me either. But I'm just saying, I grew up in a household where I was called stupid and idiot and all kinds of names, and
Yeah.
that stuff sticks with you. Um, but when you realize that it's not you with the problem, it's the person who that said and did those things to you is the person with the problem. Uh,
Yeah.
you can begin to heal and move forward. So
The key to everything really is learning your identity in Christ.
yeah,
When you start to really understand that, that's when the victory happens. Like
yeah.
when you
Praise the
understand
Lord.
that you were bought with a price, and that Jesus paid a heavy price for your freedom, and he
Mm,
wants you to have that freedom. Like uh at the risk of sounding crazy, I don't care.
mhm.
That's something the Holy Spirit told me recently, that like the key to victory over anything is understanding who you are in Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's um and
Well,
I believe that.
an identity crisis is difficult for anybody, and
Yeah.
it's very important to our psyche. So you can either choose a positive path or a destructive path.
Yep.
It's your choice. That's why we have free
It is.
will. We have free will. Well, God bless you. Thank you for your time. We're
Same.
down to only a couple seconds. I love you. And
Love you
I'll
too.
see you soon. All right. Everyone have a great one. Talk to you later. Bye.